Hi everybody, it's Talia here from Talia Makes Art. I've got another art journal process video for you today, and today this art journal page is inspired from the Parsha of the week that I made this, which was Chayei Sarah, where Issac and Rebecca meet and fall in love. And it doesn't exactly say this in the Torah, but it is like said and well known that it was like love at first sight. So this is kind of a cliche thing to do, I guess, but I'm doing like a heart kind of page. So yeah, no points for doing anything particularly original, but still, it's fun to do and it definitely gets the point across. I can't be thinking of insanely creative and intense ways to do the parasha every week when you have a weekly project to do. Sometimes you do the most obvious thing. But anyway, on to what I am actually doing, which is I've got a whole heap of old music sheets, and I am just ripping them up and gluing them down with a glue stick. I'm doing it really random, and I'm not worrying about going to the edge. I'm just wanting it to sort of spread out from the middle. The most creative I got with this was thinking that I feel like love at first sight is often like this sort of like big explosion in your heart in some ways, you know, like where you're really, wow, okay, everything's big and big feelings straight away and often like surprising. So I kind of want this to come out from the middle like that. So I've just used an oil pastel, a red oil pastel, to do the heart line, just to get the general idea. And because I'll be doing lots of layers in this, I'm happy to sort of have this in the background. And then I have this gold, it's not like texture paste, but it is like a thick paint that I'm using to do the heart. So the heart is all painted in gold. And I want to sort of let that dry a bit, and I want to add another layer of texture to this. So I've got this, it's like a script stencil. I'm not even sure what it says, but it's like very scripty, so you can't even really read it properly anyway. But I'm just putting that on down once the gold is dried a bit more. I do get a bit worried when I do this and wonder if this was a huge mistake. But in the end, it definitely works out fine. I'm actually just going to do this on one side. I'm not sure how I could tell you why I decided to do that, except that it looks a bit whatever like that, and I just had this sort of hope that it would fade into the background and it would just be more subtle when it was just on one side, that it wouldn't really overwhelm the page. So that's what I'm going for, and it does work out in the end. I'm just doing another sort of layer in my use it up type art journal, and I need to let that dry now. So onto the heat gun. I did try to leave it dry for a while. There was a cut in the filming there, but you can only wait so long, right? Like the kids are playing, Harvey and Luke are sleeping. I need to really use my best time to do this art journaling. So I've decided to continue with distinguishing between the heart and the background. I want to do the background first, and I want to do this in light pinks. So I've keeping on going with my plan to try to mix the colours more, not just use the colours I have. So I used a really nice purpley pink there mixed with white, which I always love how that comes out. And then I do have this light pink, which I often use for skin tones for like Caucasian people, and using that because it is a lovely light pink. Mixing it in. One of the pieces of feedback that I got on one of the art journal pages that I'd done recently was that they preferred the bigger strokes, and I think I agree with that. The bigger finger lines, marks, whatever, rather than heaps and heaps and heaps of layers and tiny bits. So I've tried to sort of practice that part more with this, so you can see there's like bigger bits of colour. I haven't tried to go over it and mix everything in heaps. Just mixing some pink and some red to work on this heart in the middle. And how nice is this? I don't know, it's like a really dark pink now, and I really like it. I want to also put some red in and make it a really nice, I want it to be robust, I guess, and I want it to be really full looking, and I do want it to stand out a lot from the background. So I'm just sort of, again, using my fingers, the best tools, seriously. I love using my fingers. I love really getting in there, and I know, lots of freedom in some ways to paint. So I'm just going to be letting this dry, but not letting it dry, forcing it to dry with the heat tool. And I'll cut a bit out of this for you because it is boring. I do stop halfway through the drying process though and realize, oh, I'd love to do some extra texture. The night before, my son Lior had been doing some art journaling, or during the day before he'd been doing some with me, and he'd use one of these little tools to make marks in the wet paint, and so I sort of want to copy that idea and do some marks in the heart, just to, I guess, in some ways balance out the texture that is on the right hand side because of the texture paste in the background. I just wanted to add a little bit of its own texture to this other side. When I first was getting out supplies for this page, I wanted to use the gelatos, and the page did there's not so much like spot for the gelatos now, so I'm just using them to sort of add some little extra bits. It's like a goldish type one that I'm using on the heart, and then a red one to put in like a little border, I guess, around the outside. So I'm just I've drawn it on really lightly. I'm just using my spray bottle with water to get some water on there and my finger to smudge it out a bit. And it does need something else to finish it off, so I'm going to go for the gold splatter classic. I do love a good gold splatter. I try to use my fingers in the hope, I suppose, that I would be using my fingers for most of this, but it doesn't work. I can tell from this one little thing that it's not going to work. So I'm, just got a paintbrush out. I'm going to do some gold splatters around. I don't know if you can see that particularly well on the video, but the gold splatters work really well, and I had just that finishing touch. I mean, that's why we love to do them, right? I just wanted to add something to this to make it more clear, like what the purpose of this is. So I took out my Torah or my Bible, to read that part of the Parsha where Rebecca and Isaac meet, and in my version, it says whatever I write down here, which is like, he took her as his wife and he loved her. And I just thought, okay, I prefer to have like a proper quote. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you can hear my dog going mental in the background. Barking. She barks at everyone who walks past our house. It's quite annoying. Anyway, once this is dry, I'm just going to write it on. I have a bit of trouble working out how I want to write it on. I'd love to write it in white. I think that would look really nice and really, I don't know, really good. But I think that it won't show up. So I look at this, have that black oil pastel there, and I'm going to go for it. And so I know that writing with the oil pastel, because they're really thick, will be difficult over the texture paste. So I try to write it in between the lines of the texture paste. Anyway, that is about it. I'm coming up to the close-ups and whatnot. If you like this video, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Write a comment. Tell me about your first love. Tell me about if you have ever experienced love at first sight. I would love to know. And subscribe if that's what if you're into this kind of art journaling page. And I hope I'll be able to share some more with you soon. See ya.